I used to believe that success would protect me, that if I worked hard enough, became useful enough, smiled just right and no one would ever hurt me. But betrayal doesn't knock. It comes from the people who already have a key. My name is Dana Monroe. Just 27. I was the youngest creative director at one of the top luxury design firms in Chicago. I had built everything from scratch, every sleepless night, every promotion, every accolade, every whispered, "She's brilliant, how does she do it?" behind my back. But none of it, not 1 ounce of that success, prepared me for what my own sister would do to me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments from where in the world are you watching this video. Her name is Ivy, 2 years younger than me, effortlessly charming, magnetic, a chameleon with 1,000 faces, one for every room she walked into. I used to think we were close, best friends even. She once called me her idol, said I was everything she aspired to be. She even cried at my office launch party. "I'm just so proud of you," she whispered, hugging me like she meant it. I believed her, with every part of my soul. I believed her, until the morning I was escorted out of my office. No warning. No explanation. Just 2 HR officers, and a folder, inside. A printed email. An official signature. My name, attached to stolen client files, confidential contracts, and a $12,000 transfer to a hidden server outside the country. My throat closed. I couldn't speak. The room spun. As I clutched the paper in disbelief, I didn't do this, I stammered. But they didn't even flinch. "Miss Monroe," one of them said softly, "you're entitled to legal counsel. You can collect your belongings." My knees buckled. It felt like I was watching myself from outside my own body, like the world had split in half, and I was falling straight through the middle. That night, I called Ivy, shaking, crying, barely able to breathe. She picked up after 3 rings, and said so calmly it chilled me, "Maybe it's a misunderstanding, Dana. Just rest. Let the facts come out." There was no shock in her voice. No outrage. No sister. And that's when something inside me didn't just crack, it shattered. For days, I couldn't breathe. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart racing, hoping it was just a nightmare. But the nightmare was real, and her name was Ivy. I sat for hours, blankly staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head, every moment we laughed together, every time she called me the strong one, every single lie. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I remembered the laptop. 2 weeks before I was fired, Ivy had casually asked to borrow it. Her MacBook was acting up, she'd said. I'd smiled, handed it over like a fool. I didn't think twice. Why would I? She was my sister. But now, with shaking hands, I opened my old recovery tools, a hidden backdoor I'd installed in case I ever got locked out. It worked. I was in, and what I found made my blood run cold. There it was. The same email that got me fired. But it hadn't been typed like a normal message. It was scheduled, sent by a browser plug-in I'd never installed. Sent at 3:47 a.m. on a night I was out of town, and it was perfectly phrased to sound like me. Same tone, same vocabulary, even my signature. Ivy hadn't just forged a message, she'd become me. I clicked through more of the browser history. Searches like, how to spoof an email address, how to transfer data without leaving a trace, how to clone a digital signature. My hands shook, but my eyes stayed dry, because now, I wasn't sad, I was awake. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because the old Dana, the one who trusted blindly, who gave people second chances, she was gone. This new version of me. She didn't cry, she planned. For 3 long months, I worked quietly. I got a job at a used bookstore just to stay afloat. Paid my rent in cash, but every night, I was building a digital war chest, a folder labeled truth, screenshots, server logs, access timestamps. Then, I found something new, a dummy Gmail account created under the name DM Creative, DM Dana Monroe. She hadn't just stolen my clients, she was using my identity to pitch them. The gall, the cruelty, it was so precise, so calculated. I almost laughed, but I didn't. I just kept digging, because I wasn't ready to stop, not until I had everything. I reached out to one of our biggest former clients, a tech firm in Seattle. We'd pitched to them together once. I told them I was conducting a case study on old design partnerships. They sent over all the materials Ivy had shared in her recent pitch, and there it was. The same branding proposal I had written a year earlier, same fonts, same mood boards, even the name of the concept, shift identity, word for word stolen. But what took my breath away was the business name on the files, Ivy & Co. Designs. Lelk filed 6 days after I was fired, registered to her home address, and the business plan? It wasn't just inspired by mine, it was mine. The exact PDF I'd saved on my laptop, the one I let her borrow. I stared at the screen, numb, and then I whispered, she didn't just ruin my career, she erased me, and replaced me. Lee could have gone to the police, I could have sued, I could have shouted the truth from every rooftop in the city, but I didn't want noise, I wanted impact, not a courtroom, a mirror. I wanted her to look at herself and see what she'd become. So I reached out. To someone I never thought I'd call again. Zara Lynn, our former firm's internal compliance officer, fired a year ago for overstepping. But I remembered her differently. She was sharp, unapologetic, ethical, and she hated corruption. When I called her and quietly said, I think I was framed by my sister, I have proof, she didn't even hesitate. Meet me, she said. Tonight? We sat in a coffee shop, two ghosts drinking cold espresso. I slid the folder across the table. Her eyes widened as she scanned every page, every screenshot, every timestamp. Then, she looked up and whispered, she didn't just frame you, she recreated you. Exactly. Please subscribe to the channel if you're with Dana on this journey. Your voice matters. We spent the next week building a report. But not for court. No, this was going straight to the board of trustees at my former firm. Ivy had made one fatal mistake. She hadn't stolen from just me. She had used stolen designs to pitch clients that were under contract with my old company. That meant she wasn't just impersonating me, she was violating corporate IP law. We compiled everything, a full report, signed, dated, indexed. And then, I waited. While I waited, I set the table, not literally, not yet, but figuratively. I knew Ivy loved appearances. She liked to play the role of the concerned sister, the victim, the girl who could never hurt a soul. So I invited her to dinner. I miss you, I texted. Let's put this behind us. Come over, just us. She replied in less than 10 seconds. I'd love that. Been thinking about you so much. Of course she had. She wanted to make sure the corpse stayed buried, but I wasn't a corpse. I was the one writing her obituary career-wise. I made her favorite dish, set the table just like Mom used to, put on soft jazz and even wore the sweater she gave me on my 26th birthday. She walked in with a bottle of wine and a rehearsed smile. Dana, she breathed, you look amazing. You must be doing better now. I smiled back. So warm. So quiet. I am. I really, really am. We laughed. We drank. She thought she was safe, and just as she reached for her second glass, I slid a sealed envelope across the table. She blinked, laughed awkwardly. What's this? Truth, I said gently. Don't worry. It's not a lawsuit. She opened it. Inside, a one-page summary of her crimes, a printed email trail, a time-stamped audit, and a letter signed by the Board of Trustees, formally banning her from any future corporate partnerships tied to our firm. She stared, pale, frozen. This is a bluff, she said, her voice brittle. You can't. I haven't filed anything, I whispered, leaning forward. Yet, Ivy's hands trembled as she clutched the envelope. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time she was silent. I'm not here to humiliate you, I said calmly. I'm here to give you a choice. Her eyes darted across the page, reading the terms I had outlined with surgical precision. Resign. Disband your LLC. Cease all business using my intellectual property. Publicly withdraw from active client accounts. In return, I wouldn't go public. I wouldn't press charges. And I wouldn't destroy the little reputation she had left. She swallowed hard. Dana, please. You don't understand. You were always the talented one. I just wanted to matter too. I stood up slowly, looked her right in the eyes. You didn't need to steal me to shine. You just had to stop resenting my light, she cried. But I didn't reach for her. Not this time. Because I finally understood. Not every wound is mine to heal. If this story touched you, please subscribe. And tell us in the comments. Have you ever had to rebuild from betrayal? 2 weeks later, she followed every term. She shut down her company. She issued a quiet statement online, citing mental health and family reconciliation. She painted herself as the hero of her own downfall. Of course she did, but I didn't care, because the firm reopened my file. They offered a quiet apology and a bigger offer, but I declined. I didn't want to go back. I wanted to go forward. With Zara's help, I launched something new, Obsidian Studio, named for the stone that forms under pressure and comes out unbreakable. We focused on ethical branding and design partnerships with female-run startups. Ivy's betrayal didn't just take my past, it forced me to build a future no one could take from me again. And I didn't stop there. I created a mentorship program for young designers who had been manipulated or silenced in toxic workplaces. We offered legal resources, coaching, and community. We called it the Echo Room, a place where your voice is never ignored again. Months passed, and one evening, just after sunset, I got a knock on the door. It was a young woman, barely 22, nervous, clutching a laptop bag. Are you Dana Monroe? She asked softly. Yes, I said. I read your story. I think my older sister is doing the same thing to me. I didn't hesitate. I opened the door wide and smiled. Then come in. Let's make sure she never gets the chance. As for Ivy, she faded, tried to rebrand, posted wellness quotes, changed her hair, but behind every smile, she knew the truth. She hadn't just lost a career. She lost the one person who ever rooted for her, me. And me? I no longer live in her shadow. I don't chase apologies. I don't beg to be believed. I sign my own contracts. I write my own future. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see a victim. I see a blueprint for how to rise quietly, fully, and without revenge burning my tongue, because sometimes justice doesn't need a war. It just needs you to outlive the lie.